Hi, folks. This is Jesi.
This is Shelby.
And you are listening to SPEW, where some princes are effectively warthogs.
This is where we put the nerdisms into the feminisms. It's a podcast for nerdy feminists and feminists who like nerd stuff.
Awesome. So we're on a lot of new platforms now. Shelby, tell the fine folks where they can find our podcast.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me back, Jesi. Haven't been here in about a month, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure that at least the listeners remember.
I was trying to mutiny you and get like a new podcast
Yeah,
co-host.
that's stupid. I know.
But you know,
Yeah.
I'm stuck with you. So
I figured it out.
I can't do better, honestly.
Anyways, on to important stuff besides Jessi's stupid voice. So yeah, we're actually growing. We're getting kind of bigger, too big for our britches.
Mm-hmm.
We are on iTunes now, which is news, which is awesome.
The one and only iTunes.
Yes, that's I guess like the end all goal for podcasts, right?
Thank you, Steve Jobs.
Yes, thank you, Steve Jobs, for sponsoring us from beyond. You can also follow us on our RSS feed. Is that what it's called? RSS?
Yeah, we don't actually know what that is, but we know you can sponsor us on
Yes.
it. Or not sponsor us, follow us on it.
You can follow us on
spewpodcast.
spewpodcast.podomatic, P-O-D, not like the shitty Christian band, but podomatic.com. We're also on Instagram. We're also on Twitter.
Now I'm going to sing POD songs all day.
Don't do it.
I'm going to.
And we're also on Facebook, which we've always been on that. So if you're not already following us there, you're a nerd and not a cool one.
Missing out, man. You're missing out.
Also, we're actually recording from a real studio. And by real studio, I mean kind of a real studio with a lot of fancy equipment, at least, with our real life producer, Bruce. Thank you, Bruce.
Yay. Three cheers for audio quality.
Yay.
Yay.
All right. Tell us what we're doing today, Jesi. I'm already bored.
Well, one thing I really wanted to talk about today is fictional female feminist heroes. I know that when I was growing up, I had a lot of pop culture exposure, a lot of shows I watched, movies I watched, books I read. And it got me wondering, how did the lady characters affect my development as a person, as a human, and as a baby feminist? I don't think I called myself a feminist when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. I don't think I knew what it was. But I feel like a lot of the culture that I was exposed to did help create the person I am today.
For sure. Representation, all that
Representation is so important. It matters a lot. I think that whenever you see a character or read about a character that you can relate to, that you can identify with, it helps you if that character is doing something that maybe society's put a limit, or you feel like there's a limit societally on what you are capable of. And then you see some sort of fictional representation of someone that looks like you or you can relate to. That's just like breaking through those barriers, breaking.
For sure.
And I feel like that inspires a lot of people to, I don't know, dream a little bigger, see things that they didn't know were possible.
Yeah, we had talked about Ghostbusters before and how important that was. I mean, even if the movie isn't all that we hope it's going to be, the reboot with the female cast, the gender bending. I had actually talked to my husband about it, and you and I had talked about it and about how important it is for little girls to have that representation. Like, I loved the Ghostbusters whenever I was little, but whenever I would play Ghostbusters, I didn't pretend that I was like one of the love interests. I made my own female Ghostbuster and pretended to be her.
Yes.
Because there was no one else really for me. I was Bill Murray. Because
well,
if you can be Bill Murray, always be Bill Murray.
You look a lot like Bill Murray.
I really do.
You look very similar. I feel like I did the same thing to a certain extent. Where there wasn't space for me in a story, I made space for myself in that story. Gosh, girls are way better at that nowadays with the fan fictions and the fan art.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot more ways to connect with your fandom now than there used to be when we were kids.
For sure. And I think that's actually why fan fiction is so popular with females, almost overwhelmingly so with females than it is males, is because women have always been interested in nerd stuff just as much as boys have, not having that representation. I think they had to kind of put themselves in there.
Yep.
I know I've never really been a fan fiction person, never read it, never really wrote it. But I was always under the impression it was just like love and like sex scenes, like weird stuff with like
a lot of it is.
A lot of weird stuff, like Dumbledore / Harry Potter. weird stuff.
Yeah.
You ship it, right?
It's out there. It's out there. Some people ship it. I don't ship anything. I don't care who's in love with anybody. But there is more out there to the fan fiction
That's
world.
what I'm saying. I've actually read somewhere it had nothing to do with weird sexual crap. And some of it did, which is awesome too. Yeah. But a lot of it was just putting OC or original characters into stuff and, having kind of playing with the world that didn't really give you a chance to, feel represented by anybody.
I love that. So, girls, go make your own space. If the world isn't ready for you, go make your own space.
And make Dumbledore Harry Potter porn.
Do that as well. The world needs more of that.
Yep.
So when you were growing up, Shell, can you think of any female characters or really, characters that you think may have had an input or an influence on your development into the beautiful, strong, awesome feminist we see before us today?
I can to a degree. I didn't really feel affiliated with either gender, not in like a trans or like a gender fluid way, but just in general as a child, you're not sexualized. And I had really good parents that they didn't force me to do anything I didn't want to do. They didn't force me to dress any way I didn't want to dress. So, I played football for 6 years. I said, Dad, can I cut my hair? And he's like, sure, you can cut your hair. Never wore anything but like overalls. I was a tomboy, quote unquote, but without really realizing that was something special.
Yeah.
So, I didn't mind looking up to boy characters. Now, in retrospect, I see that there really wasn't many female characters in my childhood to look up to because of that lack of representation. And most of the ones that I did look up to or that I did kind of see myself in or felt some, formation of my feminist beginnings was a little bit later, like 13 and up. And one of the first ones, one of the characters that I still that I feel very, very close with, and I was like looking into a mirror in a lot of ways for me, was Princess Mononoke. Have you ever seen that?
That sounds really familiar. I feel like someone may have forced me to watch that one.
If anyone's ever forced you to watch anime in general, they probably forced you to watch that.
I probably went straight to sleep.
Yeah,
because I hate anime.
No, it's good.
No,
it's
I hate
really
it.
good.
I don't care.
I love it. It's I don't really, I guess it's in the past, but there's nothing like significant about the time period that says like when exactly it takes place. I'm sure someone out there is like, it's this time, you idiot. But it's about this guy, it's like warrior who goes off to find out why these giant animals are attacking. And fast forward to the female character, of course, he finds out that there's this woman who was raised by wolves and she's like the queen or the Princess Mononoke. And she's voiced in the American version by Claire Danes. And the reason I liked her is she was completely unsexualized. Like, you would not really, they don't point to the fact that she's a female. She's super vicious. The way that she's drawn, the way that she moves, the way that she acts, she's like a wolf. She acts like an animal. So I like the fact that she wasn't used as like eye candy, like most females were. Right. So I liked her. She had a temper problem as well.
Oh, I love a good temper problem.
Yeah. Anytime. Very easy to relate to. And there's always those movies like, Then and Now. I don't know if you remember that one.
I do remember that one. That was a movie that really made me long to have friends.
Yeah. And friends to sneak into graveyards with.
And I had like fantasies about like, I'm going to have friends and we're going to be friends our whole lives and our interests are never going to change.
Yeah.
We're going to build a treehouse. And none of that happened.
We're going to grow boobs together.
Yeah. Never happened.
Yeah, that was a good one though. I think every female liked it because there was a variety. It was all female cast and it was a variety of females. And so you can relate with someone regardless if you're a tomboy, you liked Rosie O'Donnell's character. If you were kind of a little floozy, then you liked Thora Birch's character.
Yeah,
so
there's a little bit
it was
something
good.
for everybody in there.
Yeah, Practical Magic is another one that I really liked.
I still love that movie.
I do too. I watch it all. I love the soundtrack too, like a lot. Like it's the best getting it on soundtrack ever.
Well, I don't know about that, but yeah.
That one's really good. That's great because it teaches you to embrace what makes you weird as a woman.
And it's all about like sisterhood in like in the literal sense, but like those two sisters were so different. They had that great bond, and that always made me sort of wish that I had like a sister I was really close to.
That's true. It's good. And it's kind of like both Then and Now and Practical Magic are kind of like the other one I wanted to bring up, A League of Their Own, where like there's parts of it where it's almost it's almost problematic, where like there's parts of A League of Their Own where it's like, is the show about Tom Hanks or is the movie about the girls? But it ends up being about the girls. So I liked it. Yeah. When I was growing up, I also really dug that. And also like, China Doll, the wrestler.
Going back to Then and Now and Practical Magic. Those are movies that both dealt with like domestic violence.
Yeah, it's true.
And that was probably those were one of my first like introductions to domestic violence and like how that can affect people. And that also, they both had like really feminist.
For sure. Well, Practical Magic for sure, because it's two girls, like they're sisters, and there's a lot of like, they have a lot of like, but there's also one that's a total slut and one's not.
Yeah.
So it's one of those movies that kind of teaches you not to be ashamed to be a slut.
Yeah,
like,
that was also a good thing.
Bitches.
Yeah, like
bitches.
Like I never really saw her sister like be mean to her for being, you know, promiscuous or like sometimes she was a little bit like, can you tone it down? But she was never like, she was always sticking up for her sister, and I thought that was really awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
That was cool. And then you were saying China Doll?
China Doll. Yeah, the wrestler. Just as an add-on.
The wrestler.
I'm like so obsessed with like brute strength. Like I think we talked about that before too. So just like any chick who can just like beat the shit out of a dude. I'm like, just crush it. I want to be her. She's like 8 foot tall.
It's a wonder that you were a football player. It's a wonder.
Right. It is. It's a wonder how I'm so delicate and such like a girly girl
dainty.
So what about you though?
You know, I try to play it cool now that I'm an adult and I like adult things and I like deep dark humor and all that stuff. But when I was a kid, I was, you know, I watched Disney movies like any other kid. And I feel like Disney culture is so predominant now for young girls. It's, you know, Disney is everything. Like 90% of the toys is either Disney or like occasionally you can get the cool kids that had the Monster High stuff. But it's mostly the Disney. And that's, you know, fine. But it wasn't like that when I was a kid. And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't everywhere. It was, you know, you had your Disney VHS tapes and, you know, that was pretty much the extent of your exposure.
Right.
I didn't get to dress up like anybody. Though I did have a wide collection of Pocahontas printed clothing. I don't know why. Just like one year my mom bought me a ton of Pocahontas printed clothes.
Yeah.
I like Pocahontas leggings and stuff like that.
I loved Pocahontas too. Do you ever like feel weird about the appropriation of it
So
now?
it's awful because, you know, the original story behind Pocahontas, as most people know, is nothing like the Disney movie, which, you know, it's Disney. I don't expect them to make a movie about child rape and genocide. But, you know, the movie itself, you know, when I was little, I didn't know the real story. So if I take the movie just at face value and how it impacted me then, I related so much to Pocahontas, and I loved that movie primarily because she was the only Disney princess I could think of who didn't get married at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And I never wanted to get married. Even as a really young kid, I was sort of like ethically opposed to marriage, probably because my mother was married like 6 times. So I was like, what is the point of this?
All the magic's gone at that point.
All right, a little bit. And so I remember seeing that movie and that ending where like John Smith just leaves and she's like, cool. And she doesn't marry Kocoum. She doesn't marry anybody. She's just like, cool, I'm going to just keep being a badass in the forest and swimming in the river. Yeah. And I was like, that's great. And I loved that she was smarter and better than both of her suitors in every way. Like unequivocally, she was better than both of them.
Right.
And I was like, that's what I want to be. And like other Disney princesses, Belle from Beauty and the Beast, the whole message that we all recognize now that Beauty and the Beast is about is like, you know, if you put up with a guy's shitty behavior long enough and you're nice to him long enough, eventually he'll be nice to you back. Right. Like that's the message of Beauty and the Beast. I didn't get that as a kid. All I got was...
Which is funny too, because she's considered almost like a feminist icon because she read.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like when I was a kid, that's the message I got. If you read books and you're smarter than everyone else, then eventually you can convince bullies to not be bullies anymore. Like that was the message I got. Was like, if you're smart enough, then eventually you can outsmart jerks. And so like it depends, I guess, sort of a little bit what you bring into it with what message you get out of it. So, and then Jasmine was another great one for me. She was, she had that one line in Aladdin where she got the 2 suitors fighting over her and she's like, I'm not a prize to be won. And that was definitive for me because I was always really weirded out by dudes competing like for my mom's affection or my sister or anything like that. Like I always thought that was weird.
Yeah, it's gross.
And like as I got into like junior high and everyone starts dating and having boyfriends and girlfriends, it's like a thing. And it all was very possessive and weird for me. So I never had boyfriends in high school, junior high. I didn't have any boyfriends because I found it really possessive and weird. And I blame Jasmine for that. I blame her entirely.
I don't remember that part in that movie.
That's a great part.
I didn't like Aladdin.
Oh, it's a good one. She had a tiger.
I didn't care.
One of these days, I'm gonna have a tiger.
I don't like anything. I don't like anything with monkeys in it.
It's gonna eat you. So yeah, that was kind of the Disney influences. I also really was in one of my favorite books growing up, and it's still a great book, and I'll read it occasionally. Is A Wrinkle in Time. I don't know if you've ever read it.
I have read like half of it. I did read half of it, and then I put it down and lost it.
So
but
good.
No, that's not. I'm thinking of Bed Knobs and Doorknobs.
Oh, Bed Knobs and Broomsticks.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
No, Wrinkle in Time is basically a little girl. She's got a little brother who I think what they were going for was that he was autistic, but it was never explicitly said. But yeah, she is portrayed and she's described in the book as just being ugly, very plain, just, awkward girl, socially awkward. Her dad goes missing, and she basically has to travel through space and time to find her dad. And it's amazing because it's all about physics and like all this really cool stuff. It's very scientific. And I loved that book because I related so hard to that ugly, awkward little girl. And she still got to go on adventures, and she still got to do cool things. And so I was like, I want to do cool things, even though I'm ugly and awkward. So yeah. Lisa Simpson.
Yeah, of course.
She's a great one. I mean, she's kind of now the epitome of like white feminist. Like,
you think so?
I think Lisa only really cares about problems that affect Lisa or make Lisa feel more enlightened.
All right, but
like,
also
I get that
she's
vibe
like
from her.
11, right?
Right. She's
so
11.
I mean, she's doing pretty good.
I mean, she's doing pretty good for an 11-year-old.
She is. I've noticed she is like a big. She's a big insignia for a lot of feminists.
Yeah, and I think she's.
I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons.
You're allowed to watch The Simpsons?
I wasn't allowed to watch anything that my mom said would lower my intelligence.
You said you had good parents.
I did, but they said it would make me stupid. Like Ren and Stimpy. I think we've already talked about this before.
You turned out stupid anyway.
Whatever. I know, that's the funny part. Yeah.
I loved The Simpsons. That was like our family show. The whole family would watch that.
Mm-hmm.
Being Southern, we both have a lot of like Southern lady movies in common.
Yeah, it's true.
Particularly Steel Magnolias.
I know, it's great.
And that was a movie that I grew up watching and relating to because it's
like the gospel. There's certain quotes in that every woman should live by.
And it's a great epitome of like, white Southern culture without it being like a bunch of racist assholes. It's just they're just nice church going folks and so like I found very positive, and then just the sisterhood of all of that too.
Giving women all those women had stories that were compelling. That was a big part of it. It was a huge cast. There's not a single character in that didn't have something going on that was like you wanted to watch and see what happened in the end.
Absolutely.
So, plus amazing actresses. Just seeing so many women given a storyline that didn't revolve around husbands and sons.
And like the men weren't portrayed negatively, I don't think.
No, I don't think so.
Which was good because they could have. They could have been portrayed as like just a bunch of buffoons, but they were all like funny, interesting characters too. Yeah. Which I appreciated. Yeah. So yeah, that one's great. And then fried green tomatoes.
Oh my God, it's amazing.
Have you ever had fried green tomatoes?
I like probably once every couple of weeks. My mom makes it a lot. Yeah.
I don't know how I've gone this long. I've never had them.
Oh my God, I'll make them for you. It's really good on a sandwich with some mayonnaise.
That sounds pretty good, actually. Yeah, I don't really like fried food that much. But anyway, back on the point.
Good.
Back on the point. Yes, that was probably the first time I can remember like seeing a lesbian depiction on a TV show.
Yeah.
And like I think they like when I was a kid I didn't really understand. I was just like, they're friends.
I think it's still up for speculation, is it not?
I think it's pretty obvious to me now.
I always thought that, what was her name? Iggy?
Iggy. Yeah.
I always thought that Iggy was in love with her, but she didn't feel the same way.
Yeah.
That's the feeling I got. Even when I was younger, I got that. I didn't question it. I was just kind of like, whatever.
I could see that too. Yeah. I could see it being more like Iggy was in love with her and Iggy was brave enough to pursue it.
Right.
And then other girl whose name escapes me right now was just like, no, I'm going to do my thing with the straightness, even though straightness didn't work out so good.
I gotta have babies. I gotta get married. Right. I don't know. It sounds like Mario.
That was another domestic violence portrayal that was
a big one.
Yeah, and then Iggy just saved the day.
Yeah,
like it's like Earl, Goodbye Earl from Dixie Chicks. Like I like that, and those movies have all like instilled in me some sort of fantasy where I get to swoop in and save a friend from domestic
violence
and kill her husband and feel justified in it, like it's
and
there.
Bake him into meat pies or something.
Meat pies.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, when we were talking about Disney movies, I wanted to ask you, what do you feel about Frozen? Just
Frozen,
real quick.
You know,
as a feminist,
I enjoyed Frozen. Honestly, like I watched.
I hate you.
I enjoyed it, but I watched it about 800 times, and then I was like, well, I'm done with this.
With
but
campers?
No, by myself.
Oh my God, Jesse.
Yeah, no, I fell into the Frozen hole, but I'm super tired of it now.
Jesus.
But the thing that bothered me about Frozen was, as much as I did enjoy it, everyone acted like, oh, this is the first time that a Disney movie is about two sisters and nobody gets married, and like it wasn't like Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, I was gonna say Lilo and Stitch, and it was way better art,
which is
and the relationship, and
way
all
better
of it.
music.
Yeah,
everything about Lilo and Stitch is better.
Yeah,
I saw Lilo and Stitch in theaters, and then I saw it about a million times, and I'm still not sick of it because it's awesome.
I still watch it. It's on Netflix.
I still watch it. I have it on DVD. I take it. Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, and like right before Frozen was Brave, and I felt like if I had a daughter, I would rather her watch Brave than Frozen.
Brave was cute, and the art in that is amazing, and that one's super feminist. And that one's really
I think
good.
It's way feminist.
Yeah,
way
but Lilo and Stitch is like the most feminist because I loved their whole concept about like making your own family, an unconventional family.
Right. It's also the most intersectional feminist because they were poor and of color and like dealing with that, like having the the domestic, the family services, whatever the hell they call it in Hawaii, threatening to take a child away. That's something that poor people deal with. Like, and I think that when it comes to Disney movies and like little girls, not everybody has this perfect little white bread family or, life that they're living. I mean, I grew up more than slightly, I grew up impoverished. So if that movie had come out when I was younger, I was already grown when that movie came out. And I still love it. But if that would have been something I could have looked at when I was like 6, it would have been nice to see representation of like a messy house and dealing with crap like that and dealing with, adults having stress over not having jobs. So I think it's very intersectional feminist as well, as opposed to Frozen, which they're princesses. So
they're princesses
and white.
And white. Yeah. Like Nordic. Yeah, like that one. Like I enjoyed Frozen. I don't think I ever need to ever see it again.
Right.
Whereas I could watch Lilo and Stitch right now. If you want to shut this thing off, we can go do that.
Let's do it.
Okay. So yeah, no, absolutely. Lilo and Stitch is the best. What about, like, we've kind of talked a little bit about some of our favorite like female characters. Mm-hmm. One thing that we wanted to talk about, but we had a lot of trouble finding examples of, was from our childhood, characters of color or LGBT characters from like the 80s, 90s TV show, movies period. Yeah. There's a real lack of that back in the day.
Yeah, there is.
Like, folks today don't know how lucky they are.
Yeah, to have it. No idea. Well, I mean, and it's still
it's
not
still
often,
not nearly where
but
it needs to be, but it's just like, at least now I can think of a handful without having to do some Googling to help myself. It's crazy. I like, when I was a kid, we obviously had like Family Matters and The Cosby Show, and all the characters on there were great, because I grew up in a place that was like 99% white folks, very impoverished. So if there were Black people, they weren't like in any way well-to-do like the Huxtables. Yeah. so it was good for me to like see that side of it and be like, oh, okay. Right. There are many different types of families out there. So that was good for me. And then like the same with Family Matters, like just getting to see that there are families out there that don't. They're like, because they were more middle class, which I thought was more relatable even for me. Yeah. Like I could see them and be like, okay, I can see how they're working and they're trying to, raise their kids in a difficult city setting and all that stuff. And like that was a great show for me. But I don't remember anything overtly feminist about Family Members.
I don't either. I think it was actually, I didn't really like it. I'm not really a big fan of like older shows
like the
that.
sitcoms and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, realistically, I think they all kind
like
of ended up a little bit problematic.
Yeah, the Cosby Show was really good. Like the Claire Huxtable was a doctor. She wasn't just a housewife, which I thought was awesome. And like I remember there being a lot of like feminist messages in that one. Right. Obviously, Bill Cosby an asshole now. Yeah. And he was back then too. But the show itself still had a lot of great legacies and stuff that I think that it left behind.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So, I mean, when I was young, I watched a lot of stuff that wasn't quite appropriate for my age. So I remember being like in, I don't know, 9th grade, and I watched Bamboozled by Spike Lee, which I don't know if you've ever seen Bamboozled. It's amazing. And it's a really great movie, and it's just about, racism and, it's Spike Lee movie. So it's generally what it's about. And I remember watching it with my best friend at the time who was Black, and she was just like, see?
Yeah, right.
And I was like,
you dumb white bitch.
Yeah. I mean, it's
for real, though.
Like a lot of the things that she'd been saying, not that I wasn't believing her, but
it's really hard to put yourself into that, right?
Seeing it like represented in like such a great story was really helpful, and I enjoyed that a lot. So.
Do you remember, oh my God, was it called Rocket Power?
Rocket Power.
It was a cartoon, and they were like did sports, like extreme sports, like one skateboarded, one rollerbladed, and it was on Nickelodeon.
I think
and
I
they were
missed this
Hawaiian.
One. Oh no!
The whole cast was Hawaiian. There was one white kid in the whole show, and this was on for a really long time. I think it followed them up into like the character models, like it's a cartoon. They changed, like they became almost adults.
Yeah.
And I think I may have been of appropriate age for it. I was probably in like middle school when it came out. I mean, it was funny.
Yeah.
But I remember that was probably the only thing I can think of besides like maybe what were we talking about before that show? Oh, Proud Family.
Oh yeah, Proud Family.
So there was a couple shows that were primarily, but the ones that were usually made for people of color, they didn't last very long. Those are two I can think of that lasted a while.
Yeah.
Although I also remember watching Rocket Power, which they're clearly Hawaiian and I think they live in Hawaii in it. Either Hawaii or they live in like South Beach or something. I don't know.
Something coastal.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it's in Hawaii. And they I thought they were white. I just thought they were really tan. So I guess that goes to kind of show where, where
the education level fell off
right.
at some point in the show. Well, I think one of the like best stories about like representation and why it matters and how it helps inspire people is Mae Jemison, who was the first Black female astronaut.
Yeah.
That went to space. She cited Star Trek as what inspired her to pursue astronautism. Another thing that she was a trailblazer at was after she was, an astronaut partially because she was inspired by Star Trek. She then went on to guest star on Star Trek.
Yeah.
And she was the first real astronaut to be on Star Trek.
Yeah.
So she was like just trailblazed in both directions, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, I know the lady from Star Trek. I had watched something, I think it was on like Oprah or something. One of them, I don't remember if it was the actual astronaut or if it was the lady in Star Trek because I hate Star Trek. I think it's stupid. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say stuff like that on because I feel like we're chasing viewers away, or listeners away.
Like
but
Sherry's never going to listen to us.
I don't particularly like Star Trek. But one of them had said that when the actress found that out, she was shocked because she was almost inspired, like double inspired by the astronaut lady. Like it was really, it's kind of cool when you think about it that way. Like I don't think they realized they influenced each other like that. It's like a soul connection between two badass ladies in space. Yes.
Shart Attack.
All right, we have a very special version of Shart Attack this week.
Yes.
We are keeping with our theme of talking about fictional female characters. So we have fictional female characters, Shart Attack.
Yeah, farts.
We
do like farts.
We do like farts. So I'm going to draw a name out of the hat. And Shelby, you have 30 seconds to describe this character. Even if you've never seen whatever show it's in or read whatever book it's in, just talk about the character, whatever you know, make it up. Who cares? You've got 30 seconds. And then
vice versa.
And then
Back
something
and
else happens. Yes,
All
absolutely.
right.
So I'm going to go first. Drawing for Shelby. Shelby, your character is, tell me what you know about Lady Sybil Crawley.
From what?
From Downton Abbey.
Oh my God. Isn't there a bunch of syphilis in that show?
There might be some syphilis in that show.
I feel like there's a lot of syphilis. And her name is what again? Sybil?
Whoops, I played the town too. Okay, so you've got 30 seconds starting the clock right now. Downton Abbey, Lady Sybil Crawley.
Sybil Crawley, okay. I guess you can't tell me. Sybil Crawley. Is she a witch? I feel like she's got to be a witch because Crawley, maybe that's like Crowley, like Aleister Crowley.
Could be.
I feel like that's definitely the kind of name of someone who would have syphilis because her name's Sybil. So Sybil with syphilis. That's syphilis Sybil over there.
Didn't everyone have syphilis back then?
They did.
Yeah, that's
it killed people.
Yeah, everyone's dead because no one survived it.
I feel like she's old, probably with gray hair. I've never seen that
show. Your time is up. Sybil's actually a really cool character, and
Does she have syphilis?
No, she does not have syphilis. She actually runs away to marry someone of lower class, and he's like a IRA agent or something.
What an idiot.
He's like a terrorist. It's great. It's awesome. It's awesome.
I've never seen. I don't even know what it's about. Is it a magic show?
No, Downton Abbey is about rich British people that have a lot of money. I don't know what the show's about. I just watched it. All right, it's my turn.
All right, so I'm gonna pull a name for Jesi now, and you have 30 seconds to describe. And your person, Jesi, is Marla Singer from Fight Club.
Okay, I actually read Fight Club a long time ago, and one of the coolest things that she said in that she didn't say in the movie was after her and Tyler Durden had sex, she said, "I want to have your abortion," which is
so punk.
Awesome. So that's my favorite things about Marla Singer. She was far more interesting in the book than the movie, obviously, but I enjoy that character. She is just a badass trashy slut, and she's awesome, and she's got a lot of like crazy mental problems, but not as many as Tyler Durden. The fart timer is off. Good one, birds.
I actually know, just as a side note, I know a girl that I used to work with, and I don't know if she probably doesn't listen to my podcast, but if you do, awesome, yay, shout out. She's obsessed with pugs, and she's obsessed with not only Fight Club but that character, and she's working on like a whole sleeve of tattoos of Marla Singer replaced with pugs.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
That's art. That is severe art.
She's an odd one.
That's awesome. All right, I'm going to get another one here from my friend Shelby. Shelby, your character is Sarah Crew from A Little Princess.
What the fuck? I don't know any of these.
Well, tell me about princesses and Sarah Crew.
The Little Princess?
A Little Princess.
I literally have no idea what that is. Is it a Disney movie? Sarah Crew? Is that... No, it's not the Crew. A Little Princess. A Little... Oh my God. So it's obviously a tiny Polly Pocket sized princess, right?
Right, with an indefinite article, A, not the...
Okay. A pocket. So there's multiple in the world. If it's an A, not the.
Yeah.
She's one of many small.
Yeah,
What the
there's your
fuck is
time.
it?
Man, that movie was the bomb. You didn't watch that movie?
No.
It was awesome. It was little British girl who's in an orphanage by mistake because her dad's like in World War I, and she like has shenanigans in the orphanage, and she becomes best friends with the one black girl in the orphanage who gets treated like garbage. And her whole message is that every girl's a princess, even if you're black.
Oh.
It's actually
lovely.
pretty nice.
It's like Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
Sounds
pretty
like
much.
her.
It's pretty much.
All right. All right. So.
Let's do one more.
right,
Let's do one
All
more.
right. All right, Jesse, your last one is. Ooh, damn it. You got all the good ones, bitch. You get Carrie White from Carrie.
Yes. So Carrie White she has telekinesis. And her mother is like this crazy religious fanatic who didn't even teach her about how periods work. So she got her period in front of all of the bullies at school. And then she just burned them all, wrecked them all at prom because they pulled a prank on her. And I always loved that movie. And I never read the book, and I really want to now.
It's really good.
Oh, I'm gonna read that book. And the imagery of that is awesome. And then they remade it, and it was terrible.
No, it wasn't.
Yes,
Oh
it
my
was.
God, shut up. We
It
don't
was
have enough time
awful.
in this podcast to talk about this. I love the remake.
That's what that fart noise is your opinion.
No, that part always is the fact that you know nothing. You know nothing about good horror, clearly.
So thank you, folks, for joining us for our episode of SPEW. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, iTunes, and our RSS feed. Thanks, folks. Have a good night.
All right, bye.